Back at you with another lesson. First of all, I'm going to give all praise to Yahweh, Bashim Awashai, Bashim Kakudash, that belongs to the elders and apostles of the great millstone who teach in all truth and sincerity. And the name of this lesson is going to be The Gentiles and the Lawology are Israelites. The Gentiles and the Lawology are Israelites. So I'm going to start in Romans 11. Um, Romans 11. For if the first fruit be holy, the lump is also holy. And if the root be holy, so are the branches. And the root is the Heavenly Father Yahweh. And the first fruits are the Israelites. And if some of the branches be broken off, and thou being a wild olive tree, were grafted in among them, and with them partakers of the root and fatness of the olive tree. So, got to understand that the Lord Yahweh, the Heavenly Father, scattered us into all nations, as Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 64 and 68. And He scattered us into all nations across the four corners of the earth. But we're primarily over here in Babylon, the Great America. But you had the Greek Empire when the Israelites were Hellenized, meaning we couldn't call ourselves. There was a law that Antiochus Epiphanes put in place during the Greek Empire where we couldn't call ourselves Israelites, or we were killed, and our women were killed for circumcising our sons and keeping the law. So there are um, Israelites who are being grafted back in to the fold through faith in Yahweh Bashim Shai, which are the Israelites, because we were Hellenized. And that's still happening now, all the way up. All that's still happening now because we're scattered into all nations, all across the four corners of the earth, primarily in Babylon the Great. We're grafted in among them, and with them partakers of the root and fatness of the olive tree. Boast not against the branches, but if thou boast, thou bearest not the root, but the root thee. Thou wilt say then, the branches were broken off that I might be grafted in. Because you gotta understand that we as Israelites, we disobeyed the Lord, Yahweh Bashim Shai, coming out of the land of Egypt. And we started serving idols. And we became a strange vine unto the Lord Yahweh, the Heavenly Father. But you have a remnant, the elect that's being grafted back in through faith in Yahweh Bashim Shai. Well, because of unbelief, they were broken off, meaning unbelief, meaning disobedience. And thou standest by faith. So everything is through faith in the Heavenly Father through Yahushua. Be not high-minded, but fear, for if the Heavenly Father Yahweh spare not the natural branches, take heed lest He also spare not thee. Behold, therefore, the goodness of the severity of the Heavenly Father Yahweh on them which fell. Severity, because we fell. We disobeyed the Lord because of idolatry. And we still have a lot of Israelites today that's still into idolatry. They're in the church, worshiping Jesus Christ, which is a false god, and many other false religions and false idols of these other nations. Because the Lord told us not to be like these other nations or follow any of their customs or their practices. I believe that's in Deuteronomy. But toward thee goodness if thou continue in this goodness, otherwise thou shalt be cut off, meaning destroyed. And they also, if they abide not still in unbelief, shall be grafted in. And that's what's happening to the Israelites all across the four corners of the earth, primarily here in Babylon, the Great America. Through faith, they are being grafted in again. Let's keep going forward. The Heavenly Father, Yahweh, is able to graft them in again through faith. For if thou were cut out of the olive tree, which is wild by nature, and were grafted contrary to nature into a good olive tree, how much more shall these, which be the natural branches, be grafted into their own olive tree? Right. So it's talking about the Israelites. So we're gonna get that and prove that in Jeremiah 2, because you have a lot of Israelites here in Babylon the Great and all across the four corners of the earth, in Europe, um, South America, over there in Africa, just all across the four corners of the earth, that are Israelites but don't know that they're Israelites, because the Great Awakening was going to happen here in Babylon the Great, which is spoken of in Ezekiel 37, the Great Awakening, spiritual awakening of the Israelites due to the curses. Jeremiah 2, the valley of the dry bones. Jeremiah 2 and 20. For of old time I have broken thy yoke and burst thy bands, and thou saidest, I will not transgress. When upon every high hill and under every green tree thou wanderest, playing the harlot. And that's what we did. The Israelites did. We played the harlot by setting up idols and abominable things upon every high hill and under every green tree, and played the harlot. And the Lord Yahweh, Bashim Al Shai, the Heavenly Father, cast us away. But the Lord is going to have mercy on Jacob in these last days. In the last days of Esau's world. Esau is the end of the world. Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. 21. Yet I planted thee a noble vine. See, the Lord said, yet I planted thee a noble vine. So Israel is that vine. Wali a right seed. How then art thou turned into the degenerate plant of a strange vine unto me? So we became very strange and degenerate unto the Lord Yahweh Bashim Al Shai because of idolatry, and it progressed from there because of the Hellenization period under the Greeks, Alexander the Greek and Antiochus Epiphanes, when they Hellenized us, and that leads all the way up until now because it's prophecy. So let's get Acts. So that vine that the Lord planted is the Israelites, but you have Israelites being grafted back in to the fold through faith in the Heavenly Father through Yahushua in these last days, and believing on the truth and the gospel. Acts 28. Acts 28. Acts 28 and 8. Acts 28. I believe it's 8. Let me get Ephesians. Ephesians 3. Ephesians 3, 8 through 10. Unto me, who am less than the least of the saints are the Israelites, is this grace given, which is salvation, faith in the Heavenly Father through Yahushua, that I should preach among the Gentiles the unsearchable riches of a Mashiach. So now we're going into the Gentiles. Those Gentiles are Israelites. They were Hellenized Israelites. And basically they were Israelites, Hellenized Israelites who didn't know that they were Israelites. That Paul went to preach the gospel, because the Greek Empire, we were Hellenized, but then when the Romans took down the Greeks, we were still under those Hellenistic, we were still in a Hellenized mind state as a people, the Israelites. Let's keep going on. And to make all men see what is the fellowship of the mystery, because it's a mystery, because you have heathen Gentiles, which is in Matthew, I believe 5 or 10, where Yahweh Shai said, "Do not go among the Gentiles or the Samaritans, go enter ye not." So you have Gentiles that are heathens, and then you have Gentiles that are Israelites, but they were Hellenized Israelites in a heathenistic mind state. And to make all men see what is the fellowship of the mystery, which is from the beginning of the world, which had been hid from the Heavenly Father Yahweh, who created all things by Yahweh Shai Mashiach, to the intent that now unto the principalities and the powers in heavenly places might be known by the church. The church is the Israelites. It's a people, for it's an actual place, like a building. The manifold wisdom of the Heavenly Father Yahweh. So let's get Acts 14. I touched on the wild olive tree. The wild olive tree is the Israelites. Now I'm touching on the Gentiles, which are Israelites as well. Let's get Acts 14. Acts 14 and 27. And when they were come and had gathered the church together, the church is Israelites, primarily the elect of Israel. Matthew 24 and 31. Because the church is a people, not a building. Together they rehearsed all that the Heavenly Father Yahweh had done with them, and how he had opened the door of faith unto the Gentiles. Like I said, you have Matthew, I believe 5 or 10, where Yahweh Shai said, "Do not go unto the Gentiles or the Samaritans, enter ye not." So you have heathen Gentiles, and then you have Gentiles that are Israelites, but they were Hellenized Israelites in a heathenistic, Hellenized mind state, who didn't know they were Israelites, following the customs of the heathen. Following the customs of the heathen, like idolatry, and basically not following the law, not keeping the law through faith. And they were just they were in a heathenistic, Hellenistic mind state, and blind to the fact that they were Israelites. And there they abode a long time with the disciples. So faith came unto the Gentiles, which are Israelites, not the heathen. There is no salvation for the heathen. The heathen are going to go into captivity, pursuant to Psalms, I believe 150, 149 or 150, Revelations 13 and 10, Isaiah 14. So these Gentiles are Israelites. Let me go to Isaiah 11. And you have a lot of Israelites across the four corners of the earth, even in Babylon the Great America, that are waking up. Ezekiel 37, the valley of the dry bones. And they're coming back to Yahweh Shema Rashai through faith and believing in the truth that the prophets and the teachers are teaching, and then gathered again as that remnant in the elect, as that remnant that the Lord Yahweh, the Heavenly Father, is getting ready to come back and save. Yahweh Shema Rashai. So let's get 11. Because the Heavenly Father Yahweh is sending back Yahweh Shai to save the elect, the remnant. Let's get Isaiah. But these Gentiles are Israelites. So let's get Isaiah 11. Isaiah 11. And 10. In that day there shall be a root of Jesse, which shall stand for an ensign of the people. To it shall the Gentiles seek, meaning Israelites, and his rest shall be glorious. So those Gentiles are Israelites, are um are they are Hellenized. They were Hellenized um Israelites during the Greek Empire, and when the Roman Empire took down the Greek Empire, you still had Israelites that were still in a Hellenistic mind state, following the customs of the Greeks, because the custom of the Greeks um, trickled over into the Roman Empire, and they were still keeping those customs, those Hellenistic Greek customs. So the gospel went to the Gentiles, which are Israelites. And in that day there should be a root out of Jesse, which shall stand for an ensign of the people, which are Israelites. To it shall the Gentiles seek, and his rest shall be glorious. So see Isaiah 42 and 6. So you have a lot of Israelites today, all across the four corners of the earth, that are hearing this truth, hearing this gospel, the truth, and they're coming back to the Heavenly Father through Yahweh Shema Shai, the Lord, through faith, and are being gathered. So let's get are being gathered through this truth. Isaiah 42 and 6. I, the Lord, Yahweh Bashim Shai, have called thee in righteousness, and will hold thy hand, and will keep thee, meaning the Israelites, and give thee for a covenant, because the covenant was a blood covenant that the Lord Yahweh, the Heavenly Father, made with the children of Israel. He gave us the law. Psalms 140, I believe it's 147. Give thee for a covenant of the people, for a light of the Gentiles. I, the Lord, Yahweh Bashim Shai, have called thee in righteousness, and will hold thy hand, and will keep thee, and give thee for a covenant of the people, for a light of the Gentiles. So the Gentiles are Israelites, not the heathen. And that covenant was the law. But the Lord, Yahweh, the Heavenly Father, made a blood covenant with us through Yahweh Shai. Let's get Psalms. I think I'm going the wrong way. Psalms 147 is right here. He, the Heavenly Father Yahweh, have not dealt so with any. He, the Heavenly Father Yahweh, showed his word unto Jacob, his statutes, meaning the law. He made a covenant with us, and his judgments unto Israel, because no other nation on the face of earth knows his judgments because of the curses. He have not dealt so with any nation, and as for his judgments, they have not known them. Praise ye the Lord, Yahweh Bashim Shai. So let's get Matthew 10 and 5. Matthew 10 and 5. These 12 Yahushai sent forth and commanded them, saying, Go not in the way of the Gentiles, meaning the heathen nations. So you have Gentiles that are heathens. And you have Gentiles that are Israelites who were Hellenized Israelites in a heathenistic Hellenistic mindset, who didn't know that they were Israelites, following the customs of the heathen, of the Greeks, which trickled over into the Roman Empire, and is still um, and it's still today in all across the four corners of the earth, primarily here in Babylon the Great. But you have a remnant that's coming back to this truth and believing on Yahweh Bashim Al Shai in the report. And into any city of the Samaritans enter you not. So that's the difference. That's how you break down the word Gentile. You have Gentiles that are heathens. So Yahweh Shai was telling the apostles that were chosen to go not to the heathen and not to the Samaritans. So that's how you break down Gentile. You have heathens, and then you have Gentiles that were Israelites that that the faith was 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 uh, was brought to. The gospel was brought to. The truth was brought to, and faith was open unto those Gentiles, which were Israelites, um, Hellenized Israelites in a heathenistic Hellenistic mind state. So that's all I have today. Next time I see Shalom.